All right, everybody, we're looking at trying to do a flipped classroom. We're going to try to do this in 5 or 6 minutes. Um, just the other day, you took a Chapter 5 reading quiz, so of course we're going to post this after that. I want to make sure you're reading. One of the main functions of this unit is to discuss the 5 functions of political parties. We know that we have Democrats and Republicans, but what is the function of a political party? If you take a look at this guy, he was a congressman from New York, Congressman Weiner. Um, my question is, what do all these people have in common? This is Governor Sanford from South Carolina. This is a senator from Utah. This is a congressman from Florida. That's John Edwards, senator from North Carolina and vice presidential candidate. This is a governor of New York, and of course that is Bill Clinton. If you think about it, they all have one thing in common. They're all white, sure. They're all politicians, sure. Um, but in the end, they all have had scandals which have cost them dearly, some actually having to retire from political office. We call this a bonding agent function. When a political party, whether it's Republican or Democrat, wants to make sure that the people they present to the public are of good character. So, of course, you want to pick good people that will not embarrass the party and force them to pick the other party in protest. So it acts kind of like a bonding agent to ensure good performance of its candidates and office holders. Not only is this person, of course, who is running of good quality, of character, you want to make sure he is um, good for the position, that he knows what he's doing. This is where we talk about vetting candidates and things like that. And obviously, if a party doesn't take responsibility for its actions of picking good candidates, they may lose at the polls. We also have a watchdog function. This is going to be strategically used by the party out of power. They're going to literally act like a watchdog, bark whenever they feel the party in power is doing something wrong. So they're going to watch over the conduct of the public's business. It's very true for the party out of power, of which I just said, and they're going to bark whenever they feel like the other party is making a mistake and literally point to them and say, see, look at what they're doing. They're going to try to convince voters that the party in power should be actually thrown out because they're doing such a bad job and they should be put in power. And that is Speaker of the House John Boehner, who right now would be the watchdog, always pointing to the Democrats. Informer Stimulator is basically trying to inform the people. The political parties are trying to get as many people elected, so they're going to inform them of their stances, but then inspire and activate. That's the key thing. We call that Go TV. Get out the vote. Get them to the polls so they can win elections. Remember, that's the most important thing about political parties, is to win elections so you can run the government. They're going to do this by having commercials, obviously taking stands at issues, and of course they're going to try to win elections so they can run the government the way they feel will help people. A good way of doing this for the conservatives are Fox TV. Of course, for the liberals, you're going to have MSNBC. That's Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity, and you have Rachel Maddow and Keith Olbermann on MSNBC from the liberal point of view. And then finally, nomination function. Basically, this is what this refers to is a playoff system. NFC, AFC, American League, National League. The Democrats will have a nomination, a primary, in which the Democrats will fight amongst themselves to get the to become the nominee, in which they will run against the Republican nominee after their primaries. So the biggest roles of political parties is to nominate and name a candidate that will represent the voters. And we've seen that with the presidential. Republicans had 7 or 8 people running to get the nomination, in which Mitt Romney is one, and he'll go against the Democratic nominee, Barack Obama. There's John McCain and Sarah Palin, the nominees for Republicans in 2008. Of course, that's Michelle and Barack Obama. After the 2008 Democratic National Convention, in which he accepted the Democratic nomination. Those are the guys that were running for the Republican nomination this year. Governmental function is everybody right here. Again, we're talking about the 5 purposes of political parties, and now we're going to be talking about the governmental function. If you look at this slide, you're going to look at the list of cabinet members for Barack Obama. In theory, when the president actually wins the election, he has 2 months to form a government, and he has 15 department heads to place. A lot of people don't know that he has to appoint over 1,200 people, but they also have to be like-minded. They have to have a philosophy that the president would agree with. The next function is the governmental function, which basically helps the president out. He knows that if he wants to select a Democrat, those people tend to have a similar philosophy or vision of what to do. So in many ways, when an official of a certain party is elected, that party runs the government, hence the Democrats right now. They conduct much of their business on the basis of partisanship. For instance, the EPA was headed by a Republican. Now, the Environmental Protection Agency, under the Republican view, might be deregulation of the environment. The Democrats have a different view. So the person heading the EPA is going to be selected by the president and have a different view of what regulation might mean. Again, the governmental function provides the president a big pool to select from. So, of course, there's going to be strong support of his policies and the policy stance. Again, it provides a pool of like-minded people who will implement their views. And of course, this is the cabinet of President Obama. Again, in summary, we have a B wing, functions of political party, a B wing, bonding agent, where you're trying to pick good people that won't embarrass the party and do a good job in its role. Watchdog, the party out of power is going to be more or less barking or complaining about the party in power, trying to convince voters to put them in power. Informer stimulator is basically communicating to people and voters to vote for them, but also to activate them to participate in the process by volunteering for them. Nomination function is choosing people for office. And then finally, the last one, governing function, a pool of like-minded people to help the leader run the government. The next objective we're going to hit is, why do we have a two-party system? And if you think about the first one, it's going to be a historical basis. It goes all the way back to the trying to pass the Constitution. We have federal versus anti-federalists. Whether they realized it, they were forming almost a two-party system right there. Force of tradition. It seems like we've always had a two-party system. It's kind of like homecoming. Why the heck do we have homecoming? Nobody knows. It's just force of tradition. It's kind of the way we look at our two-party system. And then finally, the electoral system. In our electoral system, usually, if we vote on somebody from Congress, we only send one person for each district to go to Congress. And that's what a single-member district is. If you have a plurality, most votes or more votes than anyone else, you will advance. Again, this fits into the system in the sense that if we have a third party running, you're taking away votes from a major party, and one of those major parties might lose because they're siphoning off voters. So because of our electoral system, we've kind of stayed with the two-party system. And then finally, the American ideological consensus. It's a big word, but it's pretty easy if you look at it. We're pretty much in the middle of the political spectrum, even though it seems as if we are very far apart. If you look at the Democrats and Republicans, they never get along. They never agree on anything. But take a look at this slide. A picture above shows a political spectrum that many multi-party systems have. If you look over here, we have the right wing, the fascists, Nazis, and monarchs.
over here on the left, anarchism, communism, socialism. We don't have those in our country. We basically are fighting between the Democrats, the liberals, and Republicans, the conservatives. Again, American, it's ours. Ideological is this line here, and consensus is agreement. We've agreed that these three on the right are extreme. We agree that these three on the left are extreme, and we're really left with the two political parties. Again, American ideological consensus. Again, this is ours. Democrat, Republican, independents in the middle. Do we have others in between and a little bit past? Absolutely. But again, not a lot of supporters, not a lot of voters. So they don't have a real impact, which leads us to the minor parties, which is Unit 2, Objective 1, Target D. But before we tackle that, we're going to actually look at Democrats and Republicans. And to do that, we're going to look at the differences in policies. And we're going to do a web quest to tackle that objective. And for that, we'll probably do that today in class, and we'll review all the findings tomorrow. So again, flipped classroom. You can always pause this bad boy, rewind it, go over some of the information. But again, I wanted to wait till after we took our reading quiz before you had access to this.